Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast, This Week in America. Dare to Imagine 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success is Blake Sinclair's first full-length novel. A story of one lost soul who never stopped searching. Blake offers hope and actionable advice for those who want to find their own peace, happiness, and success. Be prepared to challenge how you see yourself. You will see that miracles really do happen. Blake is an author of 3 books about spirituality, metaphysics, life, and healthy living. A mystic, spiritual teacher, a life and wellness coach, a licensed occupational therapist, blogger, and an entrepreneur. He uses his diverse background, Western and Eastern techniques, connection to the divine, and his 30 years in the rehabilitation healthcare industry to facilitate the healing process for his clients. He's also the founder of U.U.M.M meditation system and the I Am Wellness method. Blake Sinclair, author of Dare to Imagine 18 Principles to Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success, a true story of hope and love, divinely inspired, is joining us on This Week in America. Blake, welcome to the program. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
I am really looking forward to this, and I'm sure we'll learn something during the course of the program today, so I'm taking notes as we're talking here. What was the inspiration for writing the book? This is the first full-length novel I mentioned. What was the inspiration, the motivation for writing this?
Well, the motivation, I think, just came from searching for meaning in life. And when I grew up as a child, there was so much negativity in the environment. It was a dysfunctional family, a toxic environment. And as a child, I grew up very depressed and very anxious and very angry with the world. And at one point, I wanted to give up because there was no one around to support me, not my parents, not my teachers. I had a lot of really bad teachers at one point who were really verbally abusive. So at one point, I wanted to give up and say, hey, there's no hope in this world. But then my mom, my sister, they sensed that in me. So they came to me and they supported me. And I realized that sometimes, being a parent, they put up a front, but beneath the front, there's a caring, compassionate person inside there. And I decided to work really hard. I decided to work hard to find how to end the suffering in my life, to how to find meaning in life. So that inspired me to start writing. And as I started writing, I was going through a spiritual journey, a spiritual awakening, and I started to get wisdom. Wisdom would come to me, downloads of wisdom when I was sleeping, when I was awake, when I was driving. And it would come a lot of information, principles, teachings. And I had to write them down. And I started to write them down. I started to incorporate to my life. Then my life began to transform. So little by little, I started 1 principle, 2 principles. Finally, I got to 18 principles. And when I incorporate all of those, it transformed my life. It lifted me to high consciousness. And it basically gave me meaning to life. And it ended my suffering. No more depression, anxiety, anger. And I was able to attain peace and harmony in my life. So I think the inspiration is the motivation to end the suffering of myself and other people. So I figured if I can help myself, I can help a lot of other people too. So I tried everything possible to deal with the suffering.
As you read the reviews, and the reviews are excellent for Dare to Imagine, I'll give you all the information at Blake's website. Of course, the book's available wherever books are sold. But people saying, I really appreciate Blake sharing his story because that's inspiring me to turn my life around. That has to make you feel good that what you've come up with here in writing this book, it's not just telling a story, but it's telling a story that's shaping the lives in a positive way of other people.
Yeah, it really feels good. And people sometimes send messages to me or email to me thanking me.
Yes.
There's one person that's been struggling in life for so long. And she picked up the book one day and started reading it. And then she said, it felt like I was talking directly to her. She felt like all the information was so pertinent. So this information is universal to anybody who's struggling in life or who wants to have greater peace and harmony in life.
With us on the program is Blake Sinclair. The book is Dare to Imagine 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success. His website is very simple, blakesinclair.org. You'll find all of that on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Books available, of course, wherever books are sold. You write in the book about your own version of sin as one of your principles. Can you elaborate on that? Talk a little bit more about that, because that does catch your attention, at least it did mine as I'm reading the book. Give us a little more information on that.
Well, when I was a child, I was raised a Christian, and I read the Bible, of course, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And the Bible talks about sin, the original sin, and it seems like such a judgmental thing. And as a child, I remember being real fearful of God. As a child, teenager, I made a lot of mistakes, and I thought that God would punish me.
Yes.
And somehow it didn't resonate to me. I said, how could some evolved being, evolved consciousness, judge me, an perfect human? So as I went through my spiritual journey, and I meditated, and eventually I got information put together in information to explain sin in a different way that I could understand and embrace. And I think many people can relate to it too. It's universal. So sin, I put down in the book, is an acronym, S.I.N. S stands for the separation of man or women from God, or source or creator. And I is like the id. Freudian talks about id, superego, and an ego. The id is sort of the self-indulgence, giving into desires, and ego gratifying. So it's further separation from God. It's the life of the ego. And then N is the negativity of thoughts, actions, emotions. So when we have those three together, that's the ultimate sin to me, and it makes sense because it's a separation from the God, and also the identification with our ego. So that's what sin to me is.
It's all in the book, Dare to Imagine, 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success. And again, we can relate. We all have gone through that growing up with fear and wondering if we're going to be struck by lightning because of something we just did that we shouldn't have done. So clarification on that in Blake's book. I hate to ask just one principle, but if you were going to summarize a principle for wellness that may be the most important, or let's say the place to start, what would it be and why?
Well, I think to me, the most important thing is love. Not romantic love, but love, kind of divine love, self-love. We have to start loving ourselves first. A lot of people, they don't love themselves, and they try to find things in the world to fill that void, to show that they're loved. So we need to love ourselves. We need to love those around us, our family members, our friends, and love without conditions. We have to learn how to love unconditionally. And love is the highest vibrational energy in the universe. To understand love is to understand God. And to understand God is to understand harmony. So if we live in love, experience love, we know that there's a certain harmony in our body, and we do things to support it, to nurture this body temple that we came in. So we want to make sure we eat the right food. We want to put the right things into our mind to support the emotional body, the physical body, the mental body. So that's all about love. So when we live in love and harmony, we affect ourselves, our development, and we affect those around us. And love, I mean, I've seen so many things happen with love and the light of God around people and animals that produce miraculous things. It's because the power of love is so amazing, so incredible. And when you feel it, experience it, there's nothing better than it. So I think that's the most important principle to begin with.
The book and all the information is available on Blake's website, which is blakesinclair.org. It's an excellent website, a lot of great information there that will guide you through all the tribulations of life. Dare to Imagine, 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success. You talk about your experience with the hugging saint. Talk about that, because that really had an impact on your life. Tell us more about that.
The hugging saint, her name is called Amma. She's an Indian saint, and she's from Kerala, the southern part of India. A friend of mine told me about her, and she told me she lived nearby me. I had no idea. I've been living in this Bay Area for a long time. And apparently she had an ashram. Now, she has ashrams all around the world, and the one that's near my home is probably the largest ashram. And this lady is a spiritual leader, and she's a guru, And she's a humanitarian. She builds hospitals, schools around the world for free. And she donates money to the poor. And when I heard about her, I just wanted to meet with her. I had studied with different masters, but I wanted to meet someone in person. So she's a hugging saint. She's hugged over 34 million people. And I wanted to be able to come in contact with her. So I went to meet with her at her ashram. And I was so excited. I was like the first one in line. I got there 2 hours early. So I really wanted to get her energy.
Yes.
And be the first one. I was too excited. And so when I finally met with her, she hugged me. It's just not a regular hug. It's an amazing divine love. And it's so powerful. It's like the energy of divine love, complete unconditional love. And I never felt that from anybody, but she has this ability to transmit it. It's like being in God's presence and feeling the energy. And it just went through my whole body, my soul, my mind, everything. It purified me. And I just felt so loved, and I just burst out crying. And at that point, I realized she taught me a great lesson. Spirituality is not about the third eye, about levitation, or about power. It's about experiencing spirituality, experiencing that love, and then embracing and living from that love and helping others. And so I think she really touched my life and guided me in my direction with my spirituality, and knowing that I don't need to do all these extra things, but if you can live in the context and alignment with that love, then you become more peaceful and live in bliss and harmony. So she really changed my life, and I'm so thankful for that.
Information like that, advice, actionable advice in Blake's book, Dare to Imagine, 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success. You deal with stress, and boy, what we're going through now in the world, that there's a lot of stress. It's very difficult to cope out there. If we want to stay attuned to what's going on, we want to be abreast of what's happening in the news, but a little bit of that goes a long way, and suddenly we find ourselves battling off depression before the day is over. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with the stress of real life? How can we cope?
Well, right now, it's kind of an unusual time period in our history. And I think there's so much information. We're inundated with too much information. And all we keep on hearing is statistics. So many people die, and we have to stay home. We have to wear a mask. All those things are really stressful. Some people deny it and say, well, they don't feel stressful. But inside the body, what we hear really generates a wave of toxicity that shuts down the immune system. So how do we deal with it? I think it's a good idea to fast. Fasting, in terms of the social media fasting.
Yes.
We can fast from TV for a while. I mean, not to cut it off, because we still need to know what's going on. But sometimes it helps to just unplug. Unplug from technology, because our brain, our consciousness was designed to not be filled with all these toxic information. It's supposed to be filled with harmony and wellness. So disconnecting is one thing. And then go inwards. Reflect on your life. This is a beautiful time to reflect on your life. What do you want to do in your life? What's going on? And also learn how to meditate. Meditating can help you to relax, decrease anxiety, decrease depression, and make you feel better. And also boost your immune system about 40%. So other things you can do is exercise. I think we need to go out when we can, when it's safe, and get some sun exposure so that we can get some vitamin D in our body, which further supports our immune system. And so exercise is important. And I think having that contact with people, and if we can't have one-on-one contact with our friends, our families, we can connect with them through Zoom, through the Skype.
Yes.
But we need, as a species, as a humanity, we're social creatures. We're not designed to be separated. We're designed to be talking to one another. We're designed to connect with one another. So I think it's really important to maintain that. And then eating well, too. Eating food that are organic food so that our body's optimized. Because a lot of times eating processed food, junk food, a lot of fatty food, it actually makes us more anxious. It makes us more depressed. So when you have all this information coming at you, and then you eat this food, then you have a perfect storm of depression. It's a serious thing. And for those people who are depressed, there are a lot of them. There's supplements out there that can help you. Like Rescue Remedy is a flower essence made by Dr. Bach from the UK. Put a couple of drops in there. It just helps to naturally relax you. things like that. CBD oil are very helpful.
Yes.
But I think a lot of it too is minerals. We're not getting the right minerals and vitamin. So getting enough of that and vitamin C. So I think just looking in terms of your body's needs, it's kind of holistic. So the meditation, getting the food, getting in nature, and just connecting with your loved ones. And I think that helps you with the stress and the depression and anxiety.
Blake Sinclair is our guest on the program. His website is blakesinclair.org. The book specifically we're talking about, Dare to Imagine, 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success. I mentioned depression. You write about you find yourself battling depression at one point in your life. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you overcame it, because it is something that I think most of us have to deal with more often than we probably admit.
Well, I kind of mentioned earlier about my childhood. Just being born in a toxic environment and being surrounded by toxic people, not supportive and very abusive people. I was surrounded in an environment that had a lot of discrimination. So for me, it was very hard. And so when I got the help from my mom, the support from my mom and my sister, I decided I need to find a way to end this suffering. So what I decided to do is explore everything from medicine to alternative therapy. And I researched everything, and everything had a little piece. And so I checked, medication. I tried it for a while, and it helped somewhat, but it had side effects. So I went to more natural things. So things I mentioned earlier, like the rescue remedies, the flower essence, that's helpful. The meditation is very, very helpful. Actually, meditation is probably the most powerful tool to transform me. Other things would help. They did help. And exercise, and Dr. Amen, the top brain specialist, he said that two things would help, and two activities. He said ping pong and also doing salsa dancing. Now, in the situation now, maybe you can't go out for dancing lessons, but you can dance at home. There's a lot of games you can do that incorporate dancing. The dancing, the learning, the ping pong, the movement, it just stimulates brain activity that keeps us busy so that we don't get depressed. And it produces serotonin in the body. It makes you feel better. But there's also one important thing. It's our second brain. We have a second brain in our gut, and that's our gut. And it has like 80% immune support, but it also supports our emotion, producing serotonin. So if we can eat in a way that supports our gut, get enough probiotic, prebiotic, get enough green leafy vegetables, sauerkraut, things that will support your gut will help you to feel better. So you take care of the gut, do some dancing, some exercise, and take some supplements. One of the most important things is learn how to meditate. And there's various breathing techniques you can learn to help you to relax. So all those things will help you to achieve greater life. And also stop focusing on the self. When you start to focus on others, when you begin to help others, family members, friends, a stranger, those things, you help them in some way, it helps yourself too. You'll feel good. And the focus becomes not on me all the time. You focus on others and the reward you get from helping others. So when you do these things, it helps you to disconnect from the emotions and the eating too. It's very important, just eating quality food. And all that together, it starts to pull away the depression, the anxiety and all that. And soon you're living a life of meaning because you're focusing not on the self all the time. And all yourself will be helping other people and being of a service and living in full meaning. And that's how you get rid of depression. But I encourage everybody to learn some type of meditation. And it just helps you to relax and just release these things. It helps us dissociate from the emotions,
right?
From the mind, to give us space to be one with ourselves and one with the universe.
A lot of great information there, and you'll find much more in detail on Blake's website, which is blakesinclair.org. And, of course, in the book, Dare to Imagine, 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success. A couple minutes left in the program. You write about healing your dog. Tell me a little bit about that, because that's another fascinating story that's in your book, Dare to Imagine.
Yeah, I had a King Charles Cavalier, and her name was Princess Tomiko. Tammy was a nickname. And when we got her as a puppy, she's a really cute dog, very kind, nurturing dog. But one day I brought her to a groomer, and she left the groomer with a limp. So I brought her to the vet, and the vet checked her and said she has a bad hip. And I didn't realize, but these certain breed, they're known to have hip problems. And so he told me it was like a couple $1,000. At that time, I didn't have the money. So I felt compassionate for her. So I just brought her home, put her in my lap, and I just started to visualize healing to her. I started asking God and praying for the light to fill me and go to her and heal her hip. So I would focus on her hip healing, the joint, socket, the cartilage. And I did that for about an hour or so. So after that, I put her back on the ground, and her limping decreased by 75%. So I did the same thing the next day, just asking, praying and visualizing and putting my heart into it and seeing that it's getting well. And I put her down after an hour, and it was completely normal. And she's been normal since the day she died and never limped again. But one more story, though. I had another dog, and he had a liver problem. The doctor gave some medication, but he was alpha dog, so he didn't want to take his medication. So I had no choice. So I couldn't grab him because he doesn't like people grabbing him. So I meditated and prayed and visualized the healing of his liver for about a month or two. And we went back to the doctor, checked the liver enzymes. It was getting a lot better. And another 1 month passed after continual meditation and prayer. It was completely normal. So I am not the healer. God's the healer. I'm just a tool and asking for the help. And miracle things like that can happen if we just connect with our heart, connect with God, and visualize to activate that loving energy of the universe to our loved ones.
Got about a minute or so left. You touch on several things there that really don't cost us anything. Meditation, you've got all sorts of guides and tips in your book and on the website. Visualization, is that something that's there and effective if we only knew how to use it more? I hear so many people talk about how they visualize getting through a particular situation and it works. Is this something that's underused? We should be actually doing it more.
It's underused, and so many people use it. I mean, the athletes use it. And when you visualize something so strongly, it stimulates neural activity in your brain, like you're actually doing the activity. I believe they did a study one time. They had these athletes playing basketball, and they were practice shooting. And they had another group that didn't practice, but they visualized it in their mind shooting. So somehow the motor cortex muscles are feeling it somehow through the visualization, activating it. And they found that the persons who visualized it did even better. But when you visualize it and you put your heart into it, and when you add prayer and all that, it really enhances the ability of manifestation. And anybody can do it. Just have to kind of get the ego out of the way, and with the pure heart and the compassionate heart and strong visualization, we can manifest anything. And it's especially powerful right before you sleep. And then when you first wake up, it kind of sets a program into your subconscious mind to activate it.
Well, there's the obstacle right there. Get the ego out of the way. If we did that more often, we'd be able to probably get through life and enjoy it a whole lot more. I have no idea where the time is going on the program today. It has been a delight to have with us Blake Sinclair. He's the author of the book, Dare to Imagine, 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success. His website is very simple, blakesinclair.org. You'll find the book there. You'll find the book wherever books are sold. Information, just go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You can link on directly to Blake's website. Blake, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Hopefully we can do this again. Thank you for spending some time with us on the program.
Thank you.
It has been our pleasure. Blake Sinclair, author of Dare to Imagine, 18 Principles for Finding Peace, Happiness, and True Success. Information on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Back on today's program after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.